Go.
Get ready, get set for the best movie and pop culture talk in the universe. It's the Good Brothers on Mercado Airwaves with your hosts, Alex Mercado and Mike Mercado.
Another episode of the Good Brothers. I'm Alex. That's Mike. We are the Good Brothers, the best brothers. We are your highwaymen from California to New York City. Mike, I am back. The return of the king.
Oh, that is right, and I can't wait to throw you off Pride Rock again. Good brother, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Was just in Indianapolis the last 2 weekends for a cheerleading competition. Teams did well. Jim did well. So a little downtime coming before we head to St. Louis, Missouri.
Well, that's awesome. Hopefully you guys are being safe and sound, and with the vaccine coming out and the world trying to get back to normal, it is nice to see a little semblance of normalcy, and hopefully the kids are having a good time as safe as they can, along with the coaches and staff. And with that, good brother, that meant that you were probably in a hotel, and you were busy watching a bunch of things, seeing what was going on in the pop culture world. We held it down for a few weeks, talking about all the goodies that came down our way, including Wandavision. So on today's episode of the Good Brothers, we have a couple of reviews, some stuff that we need to talk about, good brother. But before we get to all that, we need your thoughts, your unfiltered thoughts on the miniseries that came out on Disney Plus, Marvel Cinematic Universe's Wandavision. We saw the entire series. You and I were reviewing it, and the last 2 episodes, I was talking to our fans here on the Good Brothers about my thoughts, how I felt about the entire series. You can check that out in last week's episode. But good brother, it is your turn. It is your show. The floor is yours. Your unmitigated thoughts about WandaVision. The floor is yours, prosecutor.
So I'm going to try to keep it real focused because we'll have our little debates back and forth. So I'll keep some points to myself right now, some ammunition in the rifle, if you will. I thought the last episode was mediocre. I thought it was fine. I thought the show in general was fine. It was entertaining as Defenders was and Luke Cage was. I'm not going to say it's bad. I think everything this show did special, something else in the MCU universe did better. I think other shows have done what this show did, but better. I think this show was definitely fandom did it a disservice. At the same time, is what it wrote off of was the fandom. So my issue is you can't have it both ways. You can't say, well, the fandom, it's their fault they're let down when, well, you played off the fandom to get the hype you did. So it's not like a Cobra Kai thing where, you know, it was just a fun, kooky show that reminded us back in the day. No, you played off the fandom, used it to your advantage to get more views and keep us talking. And then when it didn't work out, you're like, I think it's very unorganized. I think it does remind me a lot of Star Wars where they really didn't know exactly what they wanted to do. They knew kind of what they wanted to do. And you're seeing in more interviews recently that is the case. And I understand why fans are frustrated. I'm not frustrated with it because I kind of saw it coming that they wouldn't stick the landing, in my opinion. It reminds me of, whether you love it or hate it, it reminds me of the last season of Game of Thrones, Iron Man 3, where you can think it's the best piece of art ever or the biggest piece of trash ever. It's good regardless, but it did let fans down. And I think at the end of it, people were more let down than excited. And I think you're starting to see that turn a little bit more. Yeah, I can't give it a positive review. Now, I'll say this, though. Now that it's over and all the episodes are up, I tell people, now's your chance to jump on. Because if you watch it straight through, you'll enjoy it a hell of a lot more than I did having to wait week for week to get no answers to questions they wanted us thinking about. And it's, again, we didn't put these in our head. Directors were coming out. Actors were coming out saying, this is going to happen and be looking out for this. So either you trolled us or you just didn't know what you were going to do. Either way, I didn't appreciate it. I don't think a lot of fans did. And as a show itself, just purely the show, I thought it was very mediocre and average.
So I think you have every right to feel any way you do. I mean, that's the one beautiful thing about being an American and having subjective opinions in film. Here's my issue with what you're saying. It's that it's very unorganized. It's very all over the place and it's very jumbled in this idea. Half of the things that you don't like have to deal with the fandom, the community, what we didn't get, what we did get. And then your other complaint is about the show's quality itself. You don't want to say that it's good and you wouldn't recommend it, but then in the same time you're saying, well, it's good, it's it's fine. There's two, you can have both thoughts and say, I think maybe the marketing, maybe the in-time moments that we're being, strung along, not just by the show, but by forces outside of the show, that I think that's a fair criticism and a concern to have. But to review the show on its merit is, I think, a little bit, it's not a really critical way of thinking of it, because then you also have to put, is it a good show on its own? I think on its own, it's a very fun concept. It's a very fun show. It's not as heavy as Watchmen, but it executes everything it wants to do. The cinematography is awesome. The acting is awesome. The story is engaging. And that is what television is supposed to be. This isn't, as much as we like to say, well, this is just a Marvel movie just spread out through 9 episodes. But it is a 9-episode thing. So it does do the tropes that a lot of regular TV shows do. Questions, things that linger on, overarching concepts. Now the difference is, because it's the MCU, it does have the baggage of having everything and anything an Easter egg. And I mentioned this to you. When you have people who are complaining about Pietro, when you're talking about Ralph Boner and you're saying, oh, they did this to Quicksilver, they told you early on, this isn't Quicksilver. They told you this. It's not Aaron Taylor Johnson. And then on top of it, it was a moment that every superhero genre fan always says, why can't Eric Bana deliver pizza right next to Lou Ferrigno when Edward Norton is the Incredible Hulk? Why can't this person make an appearance here? When they finally do it in a way that it is a red herring, in a way that engages fans, in a way that they never said anything outright about it, they never said the X-Men are coming, people complain about it. So I think it's twofold. Was Evan Peters a good actor in that role? Yes. Was the character?
I thought the role was incredibly stupid, and they've had to backtrack on it. The actual directors are backtracking.
The actor himself, Evan Peters, played the role great. He played it as good as he can. So again, it's not.
I'll admit that the acting's fantastic in the show. The acting saves the show. It's like any bad MCU movie where you're like, well, the acting's the charm, the acting, the chemistry is keeping me involved.
But I'm not understanding the conversation. Like, you're having one complaint muddled together, opposed to having two different conversations about how a show is marketed and how it's talked about during its runtime and how it was actually produced and delivered to us. And as a show that was delivered to us in a 9-episode miniseries, it was engaging. It had really good acting, wonderful cinematography. What else is a show?
No. We talked about
cinematography is not CGI. Cinematography is not CGI.
Toward the end, it didn't look the same. We're in one basic plot the whole time through the last 3 episodes.
You're in the
We're
set.
tracking half those episodes.
I'm not understanding exactly the complaints of that, like the quality.
I think everything that people like about the show, oh, the story was told better in Door to the Ark Road, was told better in Iron Man 3.
And what story is that? What story in Iron Man 3 or any of these other about somebody in that level, though? After the engagement of what we saw in Endgame and Infinity War, in which this character not only has lost her loved one twice, not only has been part of the bad guys twice, not only has died herself, now sacrifices her children, her made-up husband, in this crazy mythical world that we've seen. What other property have you seen that in the MCU do that? I mean, what exactly?
Endgame, Thor's arc alone has better grief in it. The Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2 has better dealt with grief. I thought they retracted this entire thing. It's the same story we've heard about this make-believe world she made up. And then even all the magic stuff. I hate Doctor Strange, but at least it looked better in Doctor Strange.
I mean, I feel like you're talking about The Flash compared to a show that literally looked like it had a $100 million budget. Like, I'm not sure how, and again, I know how you watch some of these shows, and some of these shows you're watching on your phone, and I'm sure some of them you're watching on your TV. I watched every episode on my big TV.
I did watch a lot on the iPad.
And on my big TV, it looked wonderful. It looked like an MCU type of movie that had the quality of it. Now, again,
do you think it delivered? Do you think you can recommend the show on the level you would a Daredevil?
No, probably not next to like a Daredevil, but when you're comparing it to the Defenders, you're talking about like mediocre television. WandaVision is not mediocre television.
Yeah, I'm not saying Inhumans, and like I said, and we've had this debate, and we can bring it up now. This show is much better in a binge format than it is on a weekly format, and that does make a difference.
But that's not the same as saying that the way they marketed was different. It was brilliant how this show was released. This show was released to keep people talking, to keep people engaged.
Released, yes, not marketed. I think toward the end they lost track of a lot of its marketing, and then showed at the end. I completely agree. Release-wise, pre-release, fantastic job.
Now that we're pretty much into this point of the conversation, I guess my next thing is, what are you thinking moving forward? Because we could talk about the red herrings and we could talk about things that were delivered and not delivered. Bottom line is what we got, and now we have to look forward into what this world is going to bring us. And we have post-credit scenes, and we know that this show is building to different things within its universe. So sticking with Wanda, with Scarlet Witch, I mean, how are you feeling about moving forward and the future of this character and the MCU?
I'm no more excited. I feel like if you skip the show completely, you didn't miss anything. Like, they introduced Monica. She's a great character. They barely used her toward the end of the season. She's a complete background fodder toward the last 3 episodes. I'm excited we're going to get her here with Captain Marvel and the Skrulls. Cool. I didn't have to see this show to know that. I have Twitter. And then as for Wanda, okay, we knew she was in Doctor Strange last year. So again, had I not watched this show, I don't miss anything. I can go into Doctor Strange in the multiverse and they're going to catch them completely. And that kind of, maybe that's why I feel so slighted, because I'm like, I didn't have to watch this. You told me I need to watch this to keep going, and I really didn't have to watch this. This is Ant-Man and the Wasp. Like, I could have skipped this and still gotten to Endgame. I could have skipped this, still got to Spider-Man, still got to Captain Marvel 2, still got to Doctor Strange. And really, I'm not losing anything over it.
My counter to that is, there's no way you know that. You can make an educated guess. You can make a guesstimate. You can do whatever you want. There is no way you know whether or not you came out of this show knowing what you're going to need to know for the next few movies. Now, you're a smart pundit. You know movies. You know scripts. You know storytelling. So you could probably make a guess to see what's coming next by simply watching the show. But you cannot sit here and say that you know exactly what Kevin Feige and they're doing by watching this one show for the next 4 slates of movies. You just don't. So we can't, if we're going to judge it on its show its own, then we also have to judge it as a Marvel show. And we don't know exactly what seeds have been laid, what we do know and we don't know. We don't know what's going to be retroactively installed. We don't know what we had no input in the show ends up being a big thing later. We do not know that yet.
I'm just glad the reviews for Buck and Winter Soldier, or Winter Soldier and Falcon, are looking good. I'm going to go in assuming if you see a red herring, it's Marvel. That don't mean shit. Like, that's not a thing. Just, it's Marvel is Marvel, and that's okay. It is okay. Like, what do we always say? Sometimes the obvious answer is the right answer.
The right answer.
And I think we went into the show being like, are they going to be different? And I'm disappointed that they chose to play it safe, that they weren't different. But that's okay. Because again, if we're talking, like you said, pure quality of TV, the worst MCU movie and show are still fantastic viewings. Just like The Godfather 3 is still a fantastic movie, even though it's the worst in the trilogy. You can be both.
I will say this, though. The difference between this and, let's say, Game of Thrones, this has longevity, though, because it did deliver to so many people. It was very intriguing. It was engaging. Compared to the last season of Game of Thrones, it came and it went. And you're talking to 2 big fans of the series, the television series, not the books. We're not, there's no need to front, keeping it 100.
I think this show will be gone very soon in the zeitgeist. I truly do. I don't think, all the articles you see lately are pretty much them saying, we didn't plan this. Or, well, we thought about that, or we don't even know who this is.
Totally disagree.
That's not good headlines.
This is going to be the movie that is part of the next phase of movies. This is going to be the starting point. This movie, this television show has been set up to not be forgotten compared to a lot of different movies.
I disagree, but we'll see. Like you said, only time can tell, but I truly believe toward the end of the year, this will be the lowest ranked of the MCU shows, and we're not going to look back and be like, well, we got Doctor Strange pretty much exactly what we needed.
Good brother. Let's finish up this WandaVision stuff. Everybody knows I was at an 8 out of 10. You were at a 6 out of 10 on Twitter, Instagram. That's where we gave our written reviews. With that, final thoughts of WandaVision, because we got to look forward, man. The time keeps on slipping into the future, and we got a time traveler and a new shield thrower to talk about.
Disappointed. I thought it was set up to be special, and it turned out to be not special, and I think that's what I'm most upset about. I'm not saying here it's a bad show. I'm saying it didn't live up to the potential that it set up for itself. And I think toward the end of the year, we're going to remember it less fondly. And I think the other two shows coming out in that universe are going to triumph over it, like much more over it. But I can't say I can recommend it. I can say this. I will recommend it now because you can binge it through. And I think if I had watched it binge through, I'd like it a lot more than having to wait an entire 2 months for it.
So, good brother, you and I are both excited for this new release in the MCU, what is now pushing forward this narrative in the MCU after WandaVision, and that is Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And I'll be honest with you, this is one of the series that I'm least excited about, not because of who's in it, not because of anything in particular, except for one thing. It's very much a back to basics. And it's going to be grounded. It's going to be a lot of espionage. There's going to be a lot of cool action scenes. And I feel like we've seen a lot of that, Punisher and Daredevil and just, moving on and on and on. I'm very interested, though, to see if this buddy cop thing plays out with Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie. I'm super excited about this show. And there's no rest for the weary. We are going right into this with just 1 week off. So your anticipation for Falcon and Winter Soldier?
I'm so excited. You and me both have Winter Soldier as one of our highest ranked MCU movies. And from what I'm seeing in early reviews, that's exactly what we're going to get action-wise. These guys do no wrong when it comes to action choreography. I hear the chemistry is fantastic. Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie are great. I'm really excited about this. And I think this is something we desperately need right now. It's just something a little more laid back in the story, more as it's a singular story. It's not, I don't think it's going to try to be more than what it is. It's going to be action-packed, exciting, one long movie. And I think we need that right now.
Any guesses about the show before we have our first review next week?
I think we'll be saying the same thing next week. Great action, great chemistry. Good first episode. Can't wait.
Do you think we're going to have as much hype and fan theories and all the craziness that came from WandaVision in Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
No, I don't think we'll have as many theories. I think it's just going to be one of those shows we talk about like, man, that was a good episode. Like, that was like more like The Boys, I would say, than anything else. Or I'm trying to think of a show that like, it doesn't necessarily carry theory-wise, but it's just such a fun action show that you can't help it.
Probably The Boys would be the
closest.
closest.
We haven't seen one in a long time.
Yeah,
what?
The Boys would probably be the closest, though, or like Umbrella
The Boys,
Academy.
Yeah. Like where you're not really like story-wise looking to go forward. You're enjoying the adventure we're in at that second.
That's very true. And with that, good brother, though, we will be doing our reviews every week of Falcon and Winter Soldier, continuing the MCU journey into this new phase, and who knows what they have in store for us with their next installment. Good brother, I wanted to talk to you about something pretty fun. We usually do video games at the very end, but it's a little bit of everything, and that is the new Ninja Turtles game, Revenge of the Shredder. What do you think? It's cool 8-bit. It's kind of like Turtles in Time. We won't spend too much time on it, but your thoughts, and of course the Turtles just staying part of pop culture 30 years later.
We love this game. We grew up with this game. We grew up with the revamps of this game. Some good, some bad. Some were too similar for the new generations. Some fall a little too new. The most recent ones that we've gotten were a little too updated. I'm hoping this one finally clicks. We're seeing this obviously in video games where you're either that God of War caliber or you're kind of going back to that 8-bit console style.
Yeah, the 8-bit, 16-bit, kind of the nostalgia. If you can't compete with the big dogs, you make your own way and you build your own fandom and community. And it's going to be a really good game to stream. It's going to be a good game to get the click together after everybody's been vaccinated and we are back to normal. Hopefully, we get ourselves another really fun Turtles game. Good brother, I wanted to bring that up now to kind of clean the palate, ease things up. We had a nice debate about WandaVision. We're talking about the future of, and Falcon and Winter Soldier. So now I wanted to go a little bit more. I guess it's in the negative realm. We have some movies to review. And before, I don't know the list that you've watched over the last few weeks. I know you've been busy and you've been trying to decompress by reviewing some movies. But I have a movie that I tried to watch. Got 15 minutes into it, and being 100% because we're honest with our fans, I fell asleep. Don't know if it's the quality of the film, if it's because your boy works a lot, or a little bit of everything. I couldn't get through the first few minutes of Coming to America. I promise, friends, I promise, I will get through it this weekend. I want to. Your Uncle Mike's got some special treats to make sure that happens. Good brother, the floor is yours. Talk to our people about one of our favorite comedies, sequel that came out last week.
So, like you said, we have a few little reviews. We're going to keep them nice and quick because they're still fairly new and there's really not much to spoil. I'm going to give you one from each of the major streaming networks.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll start. We did Disney, obviously, WandaVision, Amazon Prime, Coming to America 2. I really enjoyed it. I think it didn't obviously you and me are big marks for Coming to America. Like old school Eddie Murphy is some of the funniest things I've ever seen. I love the raunchiness. You can't get away with that nowadays. I think Eddie Murphy has done such a fantastic job adapting to the modern PG-13 era where you're going to make more money. And that's why this movie was PG-13, was originally in the theater. More audience. We know that. As pundits, that's the smart move. I thought it didn't destroy the first one like some sequels do. It's not as good. It definitely dips in quality, but I liked it a lot. I think it's very entertaining. I think if you're a perfectionist and you want to know the story continues, you need to watch this movie. I think you'll be entertained. I think you'll really enjoy where the story goes, and it sets up for more sequels to come, which is what Eddie Murphy wants to do. And whenever you can get Eddie Murphy excited about something, I'm excited. So I really enjoyed it. Like, did I die laughing like I did in the first one? Of course not. But is this a Dumb and Dumber or a Zoolander 2? No, like this.
That's what I was afraid of. I was afraid of.
No, it fits. It definitely fits. And you're like, no, I enjoy this movie, and it doesn't do anything to the first one. Besides, in my opinion, add a little more. Like maybe not in humor, but it didn't take away, and you can appreciate that from a comedy sequel, like in Neighbors 2, like not like in Hangover 2. Like there's so many bad examples. This is not one of them. I think this is good, and I think you're gonna get a part 3, and I hope it just maintains a little bit still.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch it after the Bulls game tonight. I'm excited to watch it. I tried to watch it. It was just for one of those movies I really wanted to be into it, and I just wasn't at that time. But hearing your review, I'm excited. I wasn't expecting Coming to America. I was really afraid of a Dumb and Dumber 2 type of thing, or just a Hangover 2, that type of situation. But to hear that at the very least, the legacy is taken care of, and there's some TLC in it, I'm all about that. What else you got for us, good brother?
Move on over to HBO Max before we get, the Justice League next week. We're going to start getting early reviews this weekend of how that is, the Snyder Cut. I got to see Tom and Jerry. So, again, you and me, big Tom and Jerry fans. I think everyone our age is.
Before you say anything, good brother, I just want to make it known. There's a reason I haven't spoke about this movie. Continue.
It's cute. These movies, these movies I feel are meant for not you and me who are just pundits or older, grew up with it. These aren't what those movies are. These movies are meant for your friends, Mike, who have children. And you want to introduce them slightly into the world you knew, into a modern era where, I know the whole event. Well, I'll show them the old DVDs. Yeah, I get that. You still got to... they still got to see the modern stuff, guys. Like there's still a tone to it that modern generation won't understand from the past generation. But regardless, I thought it was cute. I didn't think it was terrible. I thought it was definitely not for me as an old Tom and Jerry fan, but I smiled. It reminds me of Scoob, where I'm like, yeah, this is cute. I remember Tom and Jerry. I remember. Like Chloe Grace Moretz is fun to look at. Michael Pena's fun. Like, I thought it was cute. I thought if I had a kid, I would show him this movie and be like, I can sit here for an hour and 20 minutes and not want to kill myself and play with my phone and turn and see Tom do something stupid. Like, I really enjoyed it. I don't see the harm in these type of movies for properties that are almost forgotten about beside guys like us.
So it's so interesting you say that. It's one of the reasons I just really don't want to watch the movie. I'm glad you did, and I'm glad it's out there for a generation. I love that Michael Pena made this movie so that his kids can watch a Tom and Jerry movie with him in it. I love everything about it. I don't want to be the cynical old guy that watches it and just, completely craps on it, So, instead of me watching it and sitting there and watch, the Three Stooges movie and be like, okay, I see what you did, but this isn't it.
I like that movie.
Yeah, it's a cute movie, and I'm sure Tom and Jerry is as cute as it can be. But also in a day and age where you can make a real good Tom and Jerry movie. You could. You could make a really, really good one. And they just didn't. They just made a cute family film. And that is A-okay with me. I wish it was something different, but that's also okay. I always have my Tom and Jerry, and now a whole generation gets their own. And I think, in my opinion, there's too many people who want to be, exclusive. They don't want people in their club. And I think in this way, why not? Let's introduce a whole generation to them.
It got numbers. It got great views. Like, it was very successful for one of those, obviously they put them on HBO. Like, it got a lot of hits. So that's good for them, you know, especially when you're seeing movies like that.
Well, you know what? It's funny.
You want to see them succeed.
It's funny though, because you say you want to see them succeed. Really fast before we go on your review this kind of notion that's been going on. It's another thing that's going to be on HBO Max. What's going on with Space Jam 2? And just a lot of craziness. Like, look, I'm in on the fun about making fun of LeBron James every once in a while, but that's like me being in on the joke because it is just a joke. Like, you can't make fun of LeBron James in seriousness, you know? But this movie has a lot of weird negativity towards it, from people being afraid that the sexualized Bugs Lola Bunny, which, yeah, she was a hottie, but so is Jessica Rabbit. Like, it's a cartoon. Like, what are we doing here, good brother? What is up with this movie?
It's weird, man. People hate when you think you're taking something away from them. And I love the director. He's just like, it's a cartoon.
It's a cartoon.
Like, no offense, she's a baller. That's not what a baller would wear.
Like, can you imagine if we sexualize Candace Parker? She just so happens to be like an attractive woman, but she can also whoop your ass in basketball. Like, what are we doing here? Like, look at the Pepe Le Pew conversation is fun to me. That's a fun, philosophical, sociological question to have with your buddies, your wife, your partner, whatever. But for it to actually be a real issue, or for Lola Bunny to be an actual real issue, we have problems, good brother.
Agree. It's crazy to me. I'm excited about this movie. I think this is one of those definitely like where our generation, like, I'm ashamed of them, of like, not my Space Jam, Michael Jordan's the GOAT. Like, we know this is Space Jam. It's a kids movie, guys. Yeah. Stop acting like Space Jam was an Oscar-winning movie like Beauty and the Beast or some shit. Space Jam was dumb as fuck, and we loved it because it was dumb as hell. This movie is gonna look visually better,
and it's probably gonna be acted better.
It's going to be acted better.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but like, I'm sure this generation's going to love it because my next review is Last Chance U, the new basketball one. And they were talking about like Kobe and LeBron, that's their MJ.
Yeah.
These like 19-year-old kids. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Because they didn't grow up with MJ. MJ by that point was the legend, the GOAT. Like, but they grew up with LeBron James, Kobe Bryant. Those were their role models. So to sit here and like downplay LeBron James in the Space Jam movie, I'm like, no, that makes sense. Good for them. They're getting their own Space Jam. I love Space Jam.
Just wait, good brother, until the generation who loves Steph comes up and the old heads start getting mad about that. What else what else do you have to review for us?
Well, the last one's for Netflix. It's a docuseries, Last Chance U. The basketball. It's California Community College. Nice little basketball program. I love it. They do no wrong. They did cheer. They did Last Chance U football 4 seasons. And now they just dipped into basketball. They do no wrong. They touch on it beautifully. I love seeing basketball because of all the sports. It's very intimate. It's very passionate. You know, there's more, you see more face because you're not wearing a helmet. And just a hooper is so much different than a football player, just the way they're brought up and the way they're trained. So I really enjoyed this season. I really enjoy when they're in California talking about those issues. They do deal with the death of Kobe Bryant, and you know, you really start seeing these younger basketball players, you know, you see it at a different level because they have so much less opportunity to go pro compared to football players. You know, you can be athletic in football and make it to the pros and make it to a pro day compared to basketball where you really got to be a 1 in a million talent. And sometimes you're just not good enough, no matter how good you are. Like, there are so many hoopers out there, but there's not as many pros for a reason, you know?
Good brother, are you hearing a lot about kind of like the NBA Top Shots and what's going on right now with collectibles with these athletes? I mean, we're talking about these kids in these community colleges and, you know, people are going to benefit off of them and make a bunch of money. Are the children, are the kids, are the youths, as they say, are they talking about this new digital wave of moments and buying cards? Like, what is your grasp on that, especially watching and coaching some of these kids that you've seen in Last Chance U and in your life right now?
Oh man, like everything these kids do is on the phone and through an app, and you know, this the one of the most popular games right now is called Roblox.
Roblox, sure.
And it's like, yeah, Roblox, and like you have nephews, so you know, like it's stuff you look at, you're like, huh, like so simplistic sometimes, and it's all currency and online, and it's weird. Like if we're definitely the old men here, where I'm like, I don't see it, but I get it. And like the Top Shots thing you talked about, everything you can do is on the phone nowadays, whether it comes to money, sports, or entertainment. It's all through your phone. It's all through your tablet.
So, you know, circling back really fast, so you've always been really high on the Last Chance U stuff. Obviously, you're going to suggest this season. We were talking about this. Is this the last run for them? Like, we didn't know what was going to happen during pandemic of coronavirus and whatnot. What is the future? What do you know of the future of Last Chance U and that brand?
Well, a little scoop for us. They had filmed a Cheer season 2, and I believe they had shared more of the basketball, but it happened right around the pandemic. We're a year anniversary from the world shutting down, basically.
As we're recording
a
this.
year ago today, we thought we were, 3 week. We're gonna take a 3-week vacation.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to my friends at them like a year ago. We were like, man, I get a month off, cool, extra spring break. Like I'm still getting paid. I'm gonna stock up on some food, and I'm just gonna watch Tiger King. We didn't know where this would go a year from now. We really didn't.
We were naive, good brother. We were naive. Good brother, before I let you go, you've been awesome with your time. I know you have a busy schedule. I wanted to get your thoughts. You've given us some awesome reviews and you've done the work. I wanted to know, how much wrestling have you been watching and kind of your thoughts on both WWE, AEW. We got a show moving to Tuesday. We got a bunch of superstars moving back and forth, a new cinematic match. I mean, kind of your thoughts about everything that you've been seeing in the sports entertainment world.
Wrestling. I do love me some wrestling, and YouTube has made it so much more accessible for some of these things. WWE is fine. We're on that push to WrestleMania. I'm excited to see some things. I love me some Bobby Lashley, the Almighty. Mm-hmm. Like he's beautiful, beautiful specimen of a man. Like I have the biggest man crush on him.
All in on him.
I need to see him. Like he needs to be bumping meat with Brock Lesnar, like ASAP,
grown men
to make my heart happy. Like bumping that meat, dude. Like I love it. WWE's fine. NXT's great. I'm glad they're moving to a different day just so you can enjoy it more. I think that has been splitting the fans. The numbers just came out again. They're doing like 700, 600,000 each show, both of them. Obviously, the fans are split. So, like, if you switch nights, I think you both can start cracking 1 million at least. Both shows. That's great for wrestling. AEW has that problem where they always do, where I'm like, the mid card is so... The tag division is fun. Always is. The middle card is very in the air where you like some people. But, man, anything that has to do with, like, the main event stars like Jericho or Cody and MJF is like chef's kiss. I love it. I love the ending to Dynamite. Like they'll give you like the crappiest pay-per-view. I saw that pay-per-view, crap, all of it. Like I didn't like any of that pay-per-view. And that ending, there was a boom. Where was the boom?
What was supposed to be a boom?
And whatever. Like I dealt with it. I love John Moxley and Eddie Kingston, but whatever. That was terrible. Yeah. But man, the way they ended Dynamite, I was like, man, that's going to be one of the best endings we've seen in a few years of wrestling. Other ones, and I'm like, I got goosebumps. I was like, damn, Shawn Spears, the revival, what?
I got a theory, and good brother, it is finally going to pay off. I've been telling you, I've had 2 theories this entire time. I always believed the one storyline was going to be that the only way Cody Rhodes was ever going to get the AEW World Championship was by beating MJF and putting his career on the line. I've also said one other thing. The only person that's ever going to beat Kenny Omega for the AEW World Champion is Hangman Adam Page. Dude, I am all in on this dude. He is it. He is a star. He is the future. You could put him in the Dark Order, the Inner Circle, being the Elites. It does not matter. NXT, SmackDown, and Raw, there is no reason that man should not be one of the faces of professional wrestling in the next 5 years.
He will be. He'll win. He's going to be the one that takes the title off Omega, and then I believe MJF will get it off of him. And then we'll eventually get in like a year or two, get to Cody MJF. Cody finally is the face of the company, the champion of champions.
But you will admit, right? Remember when this first started, I told you the main events for the next 5 years, if we're talking about the equivalent of WrestleMania, will be and should be Hangman Page and MJF every single year until we get sick of it.
And like I said, there's only one guy set up to be Kenny Omega, and that's Hangman Page. He's my favorite wrestler as of right now, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, everything. He's smooth in the ring. He makes it look real. I love the gimmick. And I'm with you. Like, you know what? I would love to see him in a program with, like, Finn Balor or with Adam Cole or Kyle O'Reilly. Like, I love what he does in AEW. I can only imagine in the dream scenario where we could see him against NXT stars, too. But I like wrestling. It's stupid sometimes, but damn it, I love the show. And we get 2 nights of WrestleMania and 2 nights of NXT. What'd you think about that?
That's gonna be fun. And now we have the new NXT Women Champions, tag champions, which is really cool. I love to see it. Like you said, more wrestling, the better, especially in a WrestleMania weekend.
With that, Good Brother, every Good Brothers episode is like WrestleMania. But with that, the fireworks are going off. I finally beat your undefeated streak. I went over. I am the new face of the company. So before I let you go, any final thoughts and say goodbye to your people as we let you go. Thank you so much for joining us, Good Brother, and making some time for us and doing all that it is that you do.
I'll mark it out. I'll see y'all later.
That was the one and only the Good Brother himself, Alex Mercado. I've been your host, Mike Mercado. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this episode of The Good Brothers. You know where to find us all over the universe at Mercado Airwaves. Follow the show on Twitter at Good Brothers Pod. And as always, like, rate, review, and share us. It really helps grow the brand. Check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. For the one and the only, the Good Brother himself, Alex Mercado, I'm the Good Brother, Mike Mercado. We will see you next time here on The Good Brothers on the Mercado Airwaves Network.
Thanks for joining us here on The Good Brothers, here on Mercado Airwaves.